When it comes to building your brand and expressing your value, you spend time crafting mission statements, refining messaging, and polishing language. And yet the real story of your business shows up somewhere else entirely, in the words your people use when they're not talking to you. But first, a story. More than 20 years ago, my wife worked at an office that had a phrase everyone understood, even though no one officially defined it. Boxed. As in, she just got boxed, or I'm afraid he's getting boxed. When someone was summoned to HR, people paid attention because everyone knew what was coming next. The closed door and the long wait. And then the door would open slowly, and the now former employee would walk out of the office lugging all their personal belongings in a cardboard box. No one said they got fired. Instead, they said they got boxed. No memo had introduced the term, no employee handbook explained it, and no executive had approved it. And yet everyone knew exactly what it meant because everyone had seen it happen. Fall out of favor with the C-suite and you'd get boxed. Of course, some infractions didn't warrant getting boxed. In those cases, you get PDI-ed. PDI was short for Personal Development Interview. In theory, this acronym might have sounded constructive or even supportive, but in practice, it meant you were being reprimanded. No one said they had a disciplinary meeting or that they got lectured by the boss. They said they got PDI'd. And just like that, a formal HR phrase became a verb that everyone understood and used because it reflected what the experience felt like. That's what I call a verbit, a word that starts out as a name, an acronym, or internal phrase, but eventually evolves into a verb. My terminology might be new, but the idea isn't. You already know lots of verbits, phrases like Google it, or Xerox this, I'll FedEx it, can you Photoshop that, just Venmo me, and let's Uber there. All of those started as proper nouns that cross the line into representing behavior. These words don't simply describe actions. In their new form, they carry meaning, expectations, and a specific kind of experience that people immediately recognize. When someone says Google it, they're not describing a generic search. They're describing something fast, simple, and reliable. When someone says I'll Uber there, they're not just talking about transportation in general. They're referring to a frictionless, predictable experience that has reshaped expectations. When your brand becomes a verbit, you haven't simply prospered in the marketplace, you've shaped how people think and feel about the category and where the value resides. But here's what most leaders miss. Verbits aren't only external. They're being used inside your company every day. And if you listen carefully, you'll hear those internal verbits telling you the truth about your culture in ways your official messaging never will. When employees say someone got boxed, they're not describing a process. They're revealing how getting fired feels. And when they say they were PDI'd, they're not talking about constructive development. They're signaling how feedback is experienced. Real language doesn't come from strategy decks. It comes from lived experience, repeated often enough that it becomes shorthand for what people believe. Ask yourself what terms your people have turned into verbits, and then consider whether those words reinforce the culture you're trying to build or are quietly undermining it. You can publish messaging, but you can't control language. And because language forms where experience, emotion, and repetition meet, once it sticks, it reflects what your people truly think and feel. This gives you a strategic advantage. You can listen for internal verbits, audit your messaging against real usage, identify gaps between intention and perception, and begin shaping language by improving the experiences that created it in the first place. This is why I always talk about being clear, not clever. Companies that understand this don't chase slogans. They create experiences so well-defined and valuable that language naturally follows. The words your people use are already defining your brand value. The question is whether you're paying attention. If you want help decoding the language inside your organization and turning it into messaging that actually builds value, let's talk. Because the words you hear every day may be the most important ones in your business.